Hi guys, it's Spinner here from Winning Best, and today I got another Prism video for you guys. It's going to be a little bit of a different video than you might be used to from our channel, because I guess it's going to be like half a guide to play Prism and half a guide about my particular deck list. And I'm just going to have a bit of a ramble. It's not really anything scripted or super edited, but if you like that kind of content, let us know. And if you want more Prism content, sign up to our Patreon, because I think I'll be doing some more in-depth Prism particular stuff, because this is my hero of choice now that Iceland is gone, unfortunately. But let's get into it. So my deck is a mono Luminaris deck, so we're only playing Luminaris Angel's Glow against everybody. I've seen some people playing Iris nowadays so that you can fight against Guardians, because if a Guardian is well equipped with Time Skippers and 2 hammers, they can potentially kill your Arclight Sentinel and kill your Angel of Erudition. The flip side, which will basically put you in a really rough position to win the game unless you have a lot of soul. So in this deck we run Halo, Luminaris and Footsteps that are in basically every matchup unless we swap out the feet for Silent Stilettos, which are AB, only for Kano. So the core of the deck consists of just yellow and blue heralds, and that makes up about also figments to search for when the heralds hit, which makes up about 60-80% of the deck really. In your core we also run Celestial Cataclysm. This card is kind of essential right now because of all the prisms in the meta. So for the mirror match we want to have a 7 popper, at least one. And it's also very important for if your combo vestige turn gets a little bit scuffed, so you don't draw into the things you need. You can still win the game provided you have enough soul to play 2 or 3 cataclysms in the one turn to finish them off. And maybe, you know, you flip your Figment of Ravages to finish them off with arcane damage, stuff like that. We also run Invoke Soraya. The card's just really good. It sometimes on your combo turns when you just draw a lot of cards, you can summon 2 angels that turn, so you can flip your Erudition on your opponent's end turn, and then you can attack with it, draw cards, tome, whatever. Summon Invoke Soraya on that turn as well, and then flip another angel, maybe an Angel of War, and then start stacking counters on all 3, which is incredible. I've had that happen once, and I was just churning out damage. It's like 6-6, 7-7, just stacking up. It's insane. Light of Soul is very good in this deck. If you don't have it or can't, you know, spring for it, just use Soul Food in my experience. When I didn't have the Light of Soul, I was playing Soul Food. I didn't really see it too often, but there was a game or two where I saw it, you know, turn 0, and I managed to get most of my figments out, and then, you know, you're just waiting for a turn where you get to flip one on your opponent's end turn, and then you get to do your Halo tome combo, flip another one, and then you're just, you know, you're going Angel, Herald, Angel on that turn, and probably playing an Aura or two, which is really strong. Soul Shield is very important in the deck because there is one main problem with this deck into popper matchups, which is getting cards into your soul. So unconditionally we have Soul Shield and Genesis and Merciful to provide soul for us, but we also want Genesis and Merciful in play to win the game for us, so we can't usually run too many of those out just to provide soul, and that's why we want the Light of Soul effect especially. So if you don't have that, definitely replace it with Soul Food and get that soul cranking. So I will first explain the 2 halves of the deck. So we've got a few different matchups here built into the February link. So your main matchups are going to be Rapture and Vestige. So with Rapture, we're running Goliath Gauntlet to basically, they're not going to have too many poppers in these matchups. You're thinking of Azalea, Prism Mirrors, and Katsu Fire, stuff like that. So you're able to Goliath Gauntlet your Herald of Erudition and ensure that it hits, which is basically how you win. If you're forced to like start blocking Katsu's combo lines and stuff, just play towards a Herald of Erudition turn. That will catch you back up, you'll be able to flip some Figments, and then you can always go for pitching a blue to use your Phantasmals and activate your Imperium Rapture to actually get Ward 1, which will prevent their Kodachis for that turn, and then the Angel that you flipped will prevent their next card, like their Surging Strike or something. So this game plan is just mid-rangey, normal fab, basically. You're just playing small card hands, but your 2-card hands are like 2-card 7s or 2-card 7s that are harder to pop, but also just have Ward 4 stapled on them because you get to flip the Angel that you get straight away. And if you manage to keep a 3rd card in hand, you are also able to swing with that Angel, which is huge. And if it is Figment of Erudition that you end up getting, you can also banish from Soul and potentially swing a 2nd Herald afterwards. So this is my favorite way of playing the deck. Unfortunately, you can't play this way against like 80% of the meta, so you have to play Vestige of Soul. The reason we can't do Rapture against everyone is because of poppers, obviously, and mostly because of poppers that are above 6 power. So things like Brute and Guardian. Brute has Swing Big, Guardians have like half of their toolkit that's above 6 power, and even Warriors nowadays are playing cards like Agile Wind-Up and Finals Fighting Spirit to try and pop the Triumph Heralds. So this is our setup for Vestige. What you're looking for when you're playing this is the first card in Soul. The reason why that first card in Soul is so important is because we're looking for a turn to pivot and flood the board with auras. So the way we do that is we use Halo of Illumination at the start of our turn to put something into our Soul for 1 resource. Usually you pitch a yellow and then you're floating 1. This activates a Vestige, and then you search for often Figment of Erudition, but you can also get Figment of Rebirth if you already have Erudition in play, or Figment of Triumph, because then, especially against Brutes, you can use Figment of Triumph to ensure that any Heralds you draw after your combo turn, you can actually like successfully get through their poppers. So let's say we have a completely empty board, we use Halo, we get Figment of Erudition. Then now we have 2 cards in Soul because the Halo put the 2nd card in. We're able to remove 1 to flip the Angel, and then we can attack and banish 2 to draw 2 cards. So now we have 2 extra cards in hand. We've pitched another, probably a blue card, because the blue will give us 4 resources, and then we'll be floating 1 because we had to pay 4 for the flip and the attack. And now at this point we just want to be able to flood the board with auras. So usually to, like, as a bit of a rule of thumb for this combo, I like to have Arclight Sentinel available, because Arclight Sentinel protects the Erudition Angel. So on your following turn you can banish from Soul, draw 2 more cards, and keep trying to flood the board with auras. So the general setup I like to go for, especially against Guardians and Warriors, you can't really do this every time against Brute. Sometimes you just run out of time because they're too aggressive. The general setup is you want Arclight Sentinel in Arsenal. You can keep that there for most of the game. If they ever have some crazy turn where they're playing like Terra Sunder or some sort of like front pumped axe or something from a warrior, you can just Arclight Sentinel and prevent that damage, and then try and find another one to progress your combo. So it's a bit of like a safety valve having it in Arsenal, but usually we want to keep it for the combo. And then as soon as I see a Tome of Divinity, that's usually when I go. Or against Guardians and Warriors, they're very slow, so you can even be greedy and just like IP1 yourself, keeping the Tome in your hand, and then waiting to draw into another aura like a Genesis. And then full greeting, doing the flip, keeping the Genesis and Tome as your 2 cards in hand after you swing with the Angel, and then refueling with the Tome to play the Genesis, the Arclight and Arsenal, and then potentially any blue auras that you draw into. So usually I like to use my action points on the combo turn on the 1 attack with the Angel, and then you don't really want to be swinging Heralds, because if the opponent blocks with them, it actually gives them a use for their cards. So if they don't get to block, all they're going to do is pitch one card and attack your Arclight Sentinel, so they basically wasted 2 of their cards, let's say, if they blocked 1 on the Angel. But usually I like to finish with a blue aura, so that, you know, it's another thing that they have to clear eventually, and then they're not being able to use their other 2 cards. So, I remember first playing this deck with the Mono Luminaris build, and I'm thinking, how do you beat poppers, like, consistently? When you do flood the board with auras like Merciful and Genesis, it just becomes kind of trivial. Like, there's no go-to plan after that. There is, what I like to do is do the Figment of War Angel, which can flip to add counters to Angels, and then obviously they're Phantasm proof, so you can send a Figment, an Angel, send a Herald, it gets popped, you Phantasm it with your Footsteps to gain an action point, and then you just swing the other Angel. So eventually these Angels are going to stack up and come in for like 6 damage each. That's usually my route of victory. You can also finish them with the Arcane Angel, but it's just everything that happens is going to be triggering arcane damage. It's going to go to Soul, it's going to search you a Figment, and then you can also look towards the Arclight Sentinel loop if you do end up with like a Genesis and the Angel of Rebirth in play. I won't get into that here, we'll probably get into that on Patreon if that comes up. I think I've done it twice lifetime, so it's not something I actively play towards, it's kind of something that accidentally happens. Alright, let's get into my setup against KO mainly, but I guess you'd use the same against Reinhardt and Leviah as well. It's basically a similar game plan to the normal Vestige sideboard plan. It's just I'm also bringing in Herald of Triumph Red against these guys. I'd probably not bring it in against Leviah, just because they have Carrion Husk, so they can just cover this with like 1 piece of equipment and either a card from hand or just like the Bone Breakers or something, and then just have full tempo and just swing back and destroy. So I think I'd rely on a full combo plan against Leviah. But you're doing the same thing, dropping your Arclight Sentinel to try and protect your Figment of Erudition, and then when they roll their scabs, which they inevitably will because they are too greedy to just kill the Arclight Sentinel, they'd rather take the 50-50 of either losing or winning the game, which is fair enough. They roll their scab skins, and at least we have Gambler's Gloves to potentially roll them. Now, if the Brute player is ready for this kind of plan out of Prism, then they will have Gambler's Gloves of their own. And the way it works is because they are the turn player, they get to order the replacement effects. So they will order your Gambler's Gloves to resolve first, or second, depending on the result of the roll. So if they roll a 6, then they will put your Gambler's Gloves to resolve first. So you will say, okay, I want to re-roll the dice. You re-roll it, let's say it rolls a 1. But now their Gambler's Gloves is still ready to resolve, because yours was first, and then they get to re-roll the 1. But it basically always works in their favor, because they get to choose the order. So let's say they roll a 1, and they just resolve ours first. We're obviously not going to change. This is what happened to me in the ProQuest, and then they re-roll it, and then they roll a 4. So they always get what they want, and yeah. Basically, you want to be able to combo on a high enough life total so that once they do clear your Arclight and your Erudition, you still have game to play the game. But that doesn't always happen, especially against KO and Leviah, that has a lot of go again. And yeah, it can be a really rough matchup, it just takes a lot of practice, and you need to block really well. Alright, the other matchup we have a little bit of a different deck setup for is Kano. So Kano is a Rapture matchup, but we also just get to run our auras for value because they block 2 the same as a Yellow Herald does. And if you land a Genesis on the first turn, that's basically the game over, because the main way they try and beat us is with Waning Moon. So if you flip an Angel to try and ward like Aether Wildfire, they will Waning Moon you after the Angel is flipped, and if you aren't playing AB2, then you will have to have a Spectral Shield and your Empyrean Rapture to prevent that, which is why I would recommend AB2. I think it makes it actually an unlosable matchup against Kano, because you're able to use Empyrean Rapture and AB2 to prevent the initial Waning Moon damage, and then flip the Figment to prevent the Wildfire. I would recommend as well, try not to use your Halo for the Spell Void 2. Try and actually activate it and get Ward 4 out of it, but just be conscious of Waning Moon dealing 3 damage afterwards. So often if you get Figment of Protection with the Halo, then you will be able to Spectral Shield plus AV2 on the Waning Moon. And then when you don't want to just Halo in response to like a random Kano or anything, you want to make sure that the Wildfire is on the stack before you Halo. So once the Wildfire goes on the stack and you Halo, if the Kano player wants to respond to that, they basically need another Wildfire to threaten any damage. I had a game where they ended up doing Lesson, tried to get a tome and did something in response to the Halo, which I guess they have to, but it just didn't get anywhere because they didn't have Aether Wildfire, which is like the whole engine of their deck. So be wary as well with Figment of Judgment. You can use that Figment to, like, let's say you are responding to their Wildfire and they have a Blazing banished already. You can target the Blazing and then force them to play it basically then and there, which means it doesn't get the effects from the Wildfire, which means it's still even more scuffed. So it's really a free matchup. I don't know how you're supposed to lose it, but whatever. It's that's with AB2 at least. So with AB1 I can see losing it, but just pack one piece and then you will never lose to Kano. Sweet. Okay, let's go over some cards that I don't play. So I see a few decks with Angelic Wrath. I don't like this card, I just really like my blues blocking. So as you can see, all my blues block for 3, and then the auras obviously block for 2. So I think Herald of Ravages is the slot where people run blue Angelic Wraths. I just don't see the value in it, because you basically are playing Vestige against everyone anyway. So you'd rather have, in my opinion, I'd rather have a card that blocks. So the other one is Celestial Reprimand. This card is interesting. If there was a way to use this to consistently like play into Brute, where you're not relying on Vestige, I would be very interested in that. It's just, instead of relying on the Vestige combo, you're relying on drawing this card, I guess, and drawing it in tandem with Herald of Erudition. But if there is a way to beat KO like that, someone let me know, because I hate versing KO and just rolling dice. Yeah, I already talked about the arm slot for the deck. There's nothing, like, there's no go-to best arm slot, but I like Goliath Gauntlet just because I like playing around Herald of Erudition. So do what you feel you like. If you like Wave of Reality, it gives you 2 extra health, basically. Gives you a bit more room against Brute to do your combo. That's if you're not relying on the Gambler's Gloves, or it gives you more room against Guardians and Warriors, which I don't think you really need because they're so slow anyway. So Dream Reavers, I think it's appealing, but the thing is, if you go Dream Weavers against a KO, the game is going to be so short with like you just getting attacked and then your Herald's getting popped that the KO opponent is still going to have their armor. So you go Dream Weavers and they're just going to put all their armor in front of whatever you attack with, and then that plays around like any Wraths that you have, like Angelic Wrath. So I don't really like this card, but I've seen a lot of people, you know, really coping on that. But yeah, try it out, let me know how it goes, but I've never even played it because I just didn't want, you know, a card that just is weak to equipment, which starts in play kind of thing. So the other one is Fisticuffs, that I saw a few Prism players in the purple Discord playing. It's similar to Goliath Gauntlet, it just requires another card in hand, and it's a threaten effect. So it's basically you're threatening the +1, and if you have an Angel in play to flip, if they play around this, that's really good because, you know, you demanded an extra point of value from them to cover the +1, and then you are able to actually use your card to flip the angel. But if you don't have an angel, you're basically IPing yourself there, and then yeah, I guess you could also hold a blue herald, a blue aura as well to do that. So could be okay. Maybe I need to play with it and see how it goes. But for now, I'm just sticking with Goliath Gauntlet, just for Herald of Erudition in particular. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. I'll probably do a video of some gameplay with the Rapture build and with the Vestige build sometime on the channel. But let me know if there's any particular matchup you guys are struggling with, and I'll try and get a game against it for Patreon, and we'll look at how we tackle the matchup. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you in the next video. Peace.